You auditioned in here.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Maybe I like the way you dance. Maybe I like you. What difference does it make?
A young woman dreams of making it big as a dancer in Las Vegas, but first she'll have to strip her way to the top in Showgirls, the adults-only film that's one of 5 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert, along with a Silence of the Lambs type thriller starring Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Showgirls has inspired a lot of curiosity because it's the first big-budget NC-17 rated movie to be released by a Hollywood studio since Henry and June in 1990. What does it do to earn its adults-only rating? Well, it has a lot of nudity, mostly of the topless variety, although there is some sort of vague pubic nudity, and there's also a lot of blunt talk about sex and the kind of thrusting motion in a lap dance and in a pool scene that the MPAA always looks for and says, oh, that can't go in an R-rated movie. But the plot is just another sleazy soap opera, and in many ways, this movie doesn't go nearly as far as the R-rated Basic Instinct, which was also directed by Paul Verhoeven and written by Joe Eszterhas. The movie stars Elizabeth Berkley as Nomi, a woman without a past or much of a future, who moves to Las Vegas and gets a job in a trashy strip joint. Gina Gershon plays the star of a glitzy show in one of the big casinos, and she brings her boyfriend to see Nomi work, although she's as intrigued as he is.
You like her?
That's Kyle MacLachlan, who also works for the big casino. Attracted by the younger woman's defiance, the star gets her an audition for the chorus line, and they develop a real love-hate relationship.
Nomi's got heat.
Does she now?
Yes, she does. Oh, in a totally different way, of course. Come on. She's gonna take the lead? This is a hotel show. This isn't the Cheetah.
Nobody's going to take my lead anyway, darling. I haven't missed the show in 8 years.
But you're not getting any younger, darling.
The backstage details supply the most interesting stuff in the movie, including rehearsal scenes like this one with the seasoned pros who hold the show together.
Okay, music!
Go!
Higher! Not that high! Okay, in sync! 1, 2, 3, thrust it! Come on, thrust it! Stop! Okay. That's enough. Thank you, ladies.
What Nomi soon discovers is that work at the casino may also involve entertaining high rollers.
Ladies, we got a great idea. We want to take you girls to dinner tonight after the show. Have some lobster, hear Caesar sing. You ever heard Caesar sing? Man, that guy's great. You'll love it.
Showgirls does have a certain entertainment value in its sleazo stupido way, and I wasn't bored by the film. It also has several hilarious moments and lines of dialogue that I'm not sure were intended to get laughs, but I'm glad they left them in because I did laugh. What's disappointing is that the Joe Eszterhas screenplay shows absolutely no ambition to be the least bit better than it absolutely has to be. Basically, he has simply recycled the oldest showbiz formula in the book where the chorus girl takes over for the star, and then he's disguised it with a lot of nudity and some fairly routine sex. Right before I saw Showgirls, I saw another Vegas movie called Leaving Las Vegas. It's going to open in a few weeks, and it is so much more powerful and insightful about Las Vegas and about sex that it blows this one right out of the water.
I had the same reaction to this picture, Roger, and that was disappointment with Joe Eszterhas. He's the highest paid screenwriter in history, and I really don't think he earned his money this time. It is the most simplistic. It is all about Eve and a G-string, and it really is the lines of dialogue, the insight. You said show business details backstage. What, putting ice on your breast to make things stand out? That's old stuff.
That's
I mean,
one detail,
even
but
that,
also maybe the rehearsal and the audition process and how people get jobs and what they have to do to get the jobs.
We saw it in a chorus line. There isn't anything original in this picture.
No, there isn't. I didn't say there was.
Not a single thing that's original in the picture. And is it that sexy? There's one lap dance where you're just stunned that Elizabeth Berkley can do that with her body, but, I mean, twist around as much as she does, but it's not sexy at all. And she's not sexy. She's hard around the face. I didn't think she was particularly appealing. I thought the other woman was more attractive.
Gina Gershon,
yeah,
yes.
more attractive. So I don't think they have an attractive star. They don't do anything original in the screenplay at all. I didn't care for the film.
Well, I didn't either. And I'll tell you, the thing that bothers me is Esther Haas basically had an opportunity here to break some new ground with an NC-17 movie. I mean, when we talk about NC-17, we would like to think that maybe a movie would have some insights into sexuality, into behavior, into prostitution in this case, or stripping, or into this kind of a woman's personality, and there's nothing. His movies are all about the same in connection with women. I think he's frightened of them. He always sees them as kind of bitch goddesses with knives and things. He has a switchblade out within 30 seconds of the opening of the movie, and there's absolutely no eroticism involving a relationship between two people.
Either he's afraid of them or he thinks that's what the audience wants to see, and that's what the audience will see. They're women as rag dolls, violent rag dolls. Okay, next movie, and our next film is Canadian Bacon, a satirical political comedy from Michael Moore, who created the surprise hit Roger and Me 6 years ago. This time, he seeks to poke Dr. Strangelove-like holes in the American presidency, offering Alan Alda as a chief executive with dwindling support.
You know, it's not fair. I mean, every other president had all of the Russians to blame for everything. What have I got?
You know, Mr. President, it is really too bad that the Russians are no longer in the game.
Hell, they weren't much fun anyway. Never got to kill a single one of them.
Yes.
That's Kevin Pollak as his security advisor and Rip Torn as a gung-ho general, and they arrange a meeting with the Russian president. As you can see, however, Canadian Bacon is no Strangelove.
Mr. President, we were wondering if you and I, you know, if we couldn't sort of get together and, you know, mano a mano and sort of work something out. Sort of mix it up the way we used to, you know? In the good old days.
The deal with Russia goes nowhere, so the president's brain trust decides to start trouble with Canada. That's supposed to be so preposterous that it's funny. Well, it's not, even with the support of Niagara Falls Sheriff John Candy in one of his last roles.
Freeze! Johnny Canuck!
Now, I must ask you to leave the park immediately and go back to where you came from.
Scatter! Everybody back to the boat!
Sir, you can't end your sentence with a preposition.
Canadian Bacon is a real letdown from Michael Moore. He can make documentaries, but on the basis of Canadian Bacon, he falls into the same kind of dramatic traps that I suspect he would ridicule as phony if he saw them in a theater. Canadian Bacon just doesn't work.
It doesn't work, and you know, analyzing the film as I saw it for a second time, I think I know why. The dialogue is written to be read.
That's right.
And all the jokes are in the dialogue. He doesn't have jokes that involve visuals, involve relationships, involve characters, involve dramatic scenes.
Right.
People just stand there on screen and say things that might be funny as verbal concepts, but don't work as a movie.
That's what I stand-up actor. Listen, there is really no story here. There's just scenes connected with punchlines.
When we come back, Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman are on the trail of a twisted killer in Seven.
He's laughing at it.
I want you to look, and I want you to listen. Okay?
I wasn't standing around guarding the Taco Bell. I've worked homicide 5 years.
Not here.
I understand that.
Well, over the next 7 days, Detective, you'll do me the favor of remembering that.
Morgan Freeman is the retiring veteran, and Brad Pitt is the ambitious younger detective who's just been assigned to the district, and although that's a cop movie formula as old as the hills, a new thriller named Seven makes it work. This is a very good movie that is sometimes hard to watch because of a level of violence and depravity that is unusual even among crime films. The movie begins with Freeman and Pitt investigating a couple of murders that seem to fit together. They explain the connection to their boss, played by R. Lee Ermey.
There are 7 deadly sins, Captain. Gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, pride, lust, and envy. You can expect 5 more of these.
The killer apparently plans murders inspired by every one of the 7 deadly sins, and after they almost trap him, he taunts them.
I'll be readjusting my schedule in light of today's little setback. Sorry I had to hurt one of you, but I didn't have a choice. You will accept my apology, won't you? I feel like saying more, but I don't want to ruin the surprise.
Meanwhile, the murder string grows longer, and notice here how Freeman and Pitt have become obsessed by the case.
No fingerprints. Totally unrelated victims.
Yeah.
And no witnesses of any kind.
I don't get it.
7 was directed by David Fincher, who also made Alien 3, and he makes it into a very dark movie. It's set in the present day, but the production design suggests the 1940s. The look and the dialogue create an atmosphere that really involved me. I was surprised how caught up I got in this movie and in the behavior of the characters. Be warned, it's very disturbing and not for younger viewers. 7 is R-rated, which is ironic because actually it's a lot more intense than the NC-17 rated Showgirls. But it's very well made.
I had an identical reaction to the picture, and I was just about to say the same thing. This is a picture that I would have rated NC-17. I do think it's worth seeing. I think it may be needlessly grotesque, and I mean that as a compliment. I don't think that the director, I think he has such a good screenplay, and 2 wonderful actors who really have a lot of chemistry together without it seeming ever to be forced, but seeming to be natural at all times, that I don't think he need to be as graphic in his portrayal of the crimes that are being committed.
I think the whole purpose of this movie is to take these people into the Dante's Inferno of a big city and to take them right down into the most horrible environs.
Yeah.
And I think that in many cases, the detail of the crimes, which are very bizarre and very inventive in their own way, are part of that. I think that he really wants to give us an experience of evil in the same way that Silence of the Lambs did.
I think he could have done it another way. Still, I do recommend the film. When we come back, a Romeo and Juliet style love story set in contemporary Ireland. The Run of the Country is next.
Mammy sleep together all the time. Why didn't I have any brothers, sisters? Right.
A young Irish lad mourns his dead mother, can't relate to his strict father, and falls in love at first sight in The Run of the Country, a refreshingly mature coming-of-age story about an 18-year-old named Danny who is smitten by a girl who lives just north of the border of divided Ireland. Danny's father, played by Albert Finney, is upset with his son, who doesn't seem focused, and is capable of being led astray by his best friend.
All you're doing is wasting your life. Be honest, Danny, you know I'm right.
I'm happy where I am, Dad.
Danny and his girlfriend do hit it off, and their dialogue is fresh and heartfelt. Matt Kieslar plays Danny. Victoria Smurfett is Anna Lee.
I think it's the best name I ever heard.
It's the only one I've got.
You coming for a walk, Anna?
Eventually, father and girlfriend are in conflict. Albert Finney seems so natural, even in a familiar role as the uptight soul.
He's got his education to complete, and his mother always wanted him to go to America to become someone. I mean, there's nothing for him round here.
There are many scenes of that caliber in The Run of the Country, a film that actually is quite ambitious for a love story. It's about many relationships, about a son coming to terms with his parents' relationships, about a father letting go of a son, and about the sadness of a divided nation. I do recommend The Run of the Country.
Well, it was directed by Peter Yates, who was a very good director, but you know, it didn't quite make it for me. And I'll tell you one reason why, and that's the Albert Finney character. He seems to have been written by 2 different people almost. There are scenes where he's extremely mean, unyielding, and bitter, and other scenes where he's a really nice, sweet kind of guy, and he goes back and forth between these 2 roles in an unpredictable way. That was one problem.
Well,
Another problem.
It wouldn't be better if he went in a predictable way and all. I mean, he has 2 sides to his personality, I think.
No. The point is that they don't really know what his personality is, and I think he changes it from scene to scene. Okay. Another problem is there is a lot of levity and frivolous stuff in this movie that isn't really integrated into the really dark, heavy stuff. And then at the end, the stuff that happens in the last 20 minutes just didn't convince me in the way that it happened.
There was enough time in the screenplay to deal with the way that this kid reacts to his parents and the way they grew up. I thought that showed a couple of people growing up. Finney and explaining it to the kid, and the kid seeing, well, you know what, this is how adults do relate sometimes in the world. When we come back, Vanessa Redgrave and Edward Fox carry on an eccentric flirtation in A Month by the Lake.
Movies we reviewed earlier on this show, it's kind of a relief to get to A Month by the Lake, which tells a charming and whimsical story about a retired British major and an eccentric spinster who carry on a flirtation that never quite seems to get anywhere. The movie takes place in 1937 on the shores of Lake Como in Italy, stars Vanessa Redgrave and Edward Fox in two superb comic performances as stubborn and independent people who have reached middle age without having ever quite grown up.
Are you lost?
We missed the boat! My fault.
It's a long way to walk. I'll give you a ride.
Well, I don't know.
Your husband can come with me. I'm not her husband, good God.
Just when it seems that Redgrave and Fox might be getting somewhere, he announces he's leaving. Then an American nanny, played by Uma Thurman, decides to toy with him.
Dear Major, I'm so sorry you're going before we've had a chance to get to know each other. Such a waste. Here. Souvenir. Better not miss your train.
Sure enough, she reaches his male ego and the major comes back, deluded that the nanny actually does like him.
Know what you said when I left this morning, that we should get to know each other properly?
Did I say that?
You did. I remember every word.
Meanwhile, one of the local lads has eyes for Miss Bentley.
English girls and Italian men are good.
I'm an English woman, there's the difference. Oh,
I'm Italian.
ah, ah!
You will not regret.
There is a scene in this movie that is worth the price of a ticket all by itself. I'm thinking of the body language that Vanessa Redgrave uses in a tennis game. It cannot be described and it probably cannot be duplicated, but it is perfect. And so is the off-balance relationship created by these two wonderful actors. A Month by the Lake is in the tradition of Enchanted April and A Room with a View, but it has an eccentric charm that's all its own.
I liked it too, and it is the nature of the relationship. A conventional treatment of the same story would have them get together much quicker in this story. It would have the complications be much more ordinary. It is very clear that these two people, as much as they want to relate to each other, simply don't know how. They're missing a link they've never developed, and it's fascinating the way that happens.
What I like is the way, and I think you put your finger on it, they just don't know how to connect. At one point, he asks her to meet him for a drink that night, and she doesn't.
Right.
She prolongs a conversation that's going to make her late, and why does she do it? I don't really think she knows why she does it, because she wants to have the drink with him, and that kind of back and forth, out of sync stuff adds to a lot of the humor in the film.
And it's more than the humor. You know, it is describing a lot of people who've never made a connection with anyone in their lives. Coming up next, our video pick of the week, a fine dark comedy that you probably missed the first time around. Here's your second chance.
Siskel and Ebert's Video Pick of the Week, brought to you by Orville Redenbacher's Gourmet Popping Corn, the best part of the movies.
The greatest contribution of home video is that it allows you a second chance at a film that didn't have a big ad campaign behind it and didn't get mass distribution. My video pick of the week is a case in point. Funny Bones is a surprisingly tough drama about a young stand-up comic coming to terms first with his overbearing, legendary comedian father played by Jerry Lewis. Perfect casting.
You couldn't ask for a better audience. That room is filled with people. Friends, old friends of the family. The whole of show business is there. And they're all just hoping and wishing and ready to laugh some. I better go.
That's Oliver Platt as the put-upon son. To get away from Dad, he goes to England, to the seaside resort town of Blackpool, a cradle of physical comedy, where he comes to terms next with the source of his father's act, his dad stole it, and also to terms with the limits of his own comedic talent.
The thing that kills me the most is watching my own son flop time after time. What kills me is however much I spend on writers and coaches, it hasn't worked for you, Tommy.
Funny Bones, my video pick of the week. Now let's recap the movies we reviewed on this show. 2 thumbs down for Showgirls, the trashy Las Vegas melodrama with cornball dialogue and a recycled plot. 2 thumbs down for Michael Moore's lame political satire, Canadian Bacon, a real disappointment. 2 thumbs up for David Fincher's stylish serial killer thriller, Seven, with Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt turning in 2 exceptional performances. A split vote on the Irish coming-of-age story, The Run of the Country with Albert Finney. I admired the ambition of its story with its many relationships. Roger felt the different elements didn't come together, however. And finally, 2 thumbs up for A Month by the Lake with Vanessa Redgrave and Edward Fox in a mature love story set during a springtime vacation on Lake Como. So A Month by the Lake and 7 are the 2 best pictures this week.
Yes, they are. And finally, we note with sadness the death this week of Orville Redenbacher, a man who took popcorn seriously, as seriously as we take the movies, and we're going to miss him.
Well, he actually was more than just a cute, cuddly advertising figure. He actually was a scientist who came up with a new strain of popcorn that really kept that whole industry alive.
It popped twice as big as the popcorn it replaced.
That's a real contribution. Next week, we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including Devil in a Blue Dress, starring Denzel Washington as a Los Angeles private eye, and To Die For, with Nicole Kidman as a cable TV weather girl who dreams of stardom. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
Quality Check Dairies, where the check in the queue tells you our higher standards mean fresh taste. Glade Basics Air Freshener for pure, clean, simple freshness. Available in spray and plug-ins refills. Fresh from Glade, S.C. Johnson Wax.
Show me a grilled cheese sandwich and I melt. But what about all that fat? Well, Alpine Lace took care of that with its delicious fat-free singles. No fat, no fat, no fat.